Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Price Check. I'm your host, Josh Price, here on the In the Zone Network, where we go city to city, state to state, worldwide. I know it's been a while. We've been off in our college basketball bag for a little bit, but the NBA playoffs are almost here. So, of course, we got to jump in and talk about the action, man. So, today, just going to be focused on the play-in. We'll come back a little bit later in the week to discuss the actual playoff matchups as the 7th and 8th seeds in each conference get locked in. But, of course, tonight, play-in kicks off. You got the 9-10 matchup in the East, Charlotte Hornets versus Miami Heat in Charlotte. And then you got the 7-8 seed game for the 7th seed in the Western Conference between Portland and Phoenix tonight as well. Here as we record on Tuesday, with the Wednesday games being the 7-8 seed matchup in the East between Orlando and Philadelphia, followed by the Golden State Warriors versus Los Angeles Clippers for the 9-10 game in the West. So, I know a lot that's been going on NBA-wise, kind of a lot of action that went into this last week leading into the play-in, but focus on these play-in games and kind of what these outcomes may end up looking like and what that may mean for the actual playoff picture. So, jumping into the Tuesday night games. First off, of course, Hornets and Heat. I think the Heat, man, we of course talk about Heat culture, talk about how, you know, they're always in the mix, they're always in the thick of it. They have not played well down the stretch. Of course, they beat some teams here in this last week. Of course, they got the benefit of seeing the Wizards a couple times in that range, but also beat a couple playoff teams like the Raptors. All in all, I'm not really impressed with what I've seen from the Heat overall this season. The Hornets, on the other hand, have watched a lot of them. Very well coached team. Shout out to Coach Charles Lee for the Hornets. And I think this is a team that's kind of ready to make a mini leap. Do I think they're going to go in and win like a couple series in the playoffs? Probably not. But I do think this Miami team, a team that they're familiar with, granted, they lost 3 out of the 4 games in the regular season. However, 2 of those games were before the Hornets really kind of settled into the team that they have now. And before they went on the run where they, you know, for about 2 months, they were looking like one of the best teams in basketball. So, all that being said, I'm actually picking the Hornets to win that game tonight in Charlotte. I think this is a moment that this young team is ready for, and also a moment that this team needs. And on the flip side of that, I think this is a Miami team that's just been kind of piecing it together and, you know, having a team that's hungry like the Hornets in this matchup. I do think that is going to lend itself well in Charlotte's hands. So, picking the Hornets to win that one. I do think it'll be a fairly close game, playoff atmosphere. You know, you got a Heat team that's kind of been through those playoff battles before, whereas this Hornets team just starting to get their feet wet a little bit. But I think overall the Hornets are playing better basketball right now and should definitely be able to get that win against a Miami team that, again, is just kind of mid right now. So, give me the Hornets in that one. I think the spread on that game is like 5.5. Would not be surprised if the Heat covered, but would be a tad bit surprised if the Heat won that one. Also of note, as we're talking about the play-in, the 10 seed, so this fits Miami right now, and it also fits Golden State over in the West. The team that is coming in as the 10 seed has only made it out of the play-in once, and that was last year with this Miami Heat team. And we saw what they ultimately went and did against Cleveland. They got the doors blown off pretty quickly in that one. So I don't think we're going to get a 10 seed moving forward, spoiler alert, on either side of this today. Or tomorrow for that matter. So, give me the Hornets in game 1 here tonight. I think they're going to go on and play the loser of that 7-8 matchup between Orlando and Philly. Now, Phoenix and Portland. I think this is going to be a really, really good game. This is probably not a game that people have on their radar. Probably have not watched a whole lot of the Suns this year. Also have probably not watched a lot of the Blazers this year. Somebody who has, I think this is going to be a fantastic matchup because this is going to be one of those styles make fights types of matchups. You got the Suns team that has been a pretty efficient offense. Devin Booker's having a hell of a season. They have Dylan Brooks back now. So you got a team that's kind of, again, finding themselves as they gotten down the stretch. Not talented enough, as we see, to be one of those legit, you know, top 6 seed playoff teams, but a team I do think is dangerous in this type of format here in the play-in. Now, Portland on the other side of that coming into this as the 8th seed. This is a team that has exceeded expectations, a team that plays very well defensively, which I think is going to be kind of where that style matchup is going to make this one fun. Donovan Clingan having a hell of a season. Drew Holiday starting to come along as a vet here down the stretch. Tamani Kamara having a hell of a season as a shooter specifically. I think this Portland team, for the same reasons that I kind of picked Charlotte, I think this Portland team has been, kind of turning that corner a little bit to where, again, in this type of environment, you got one game to win. I think they got the perfect mix of vets and young guys that are contributing at the right level to be able to pull off a slight upset over that Phoenix team. This Phoenix team, again, I think they have a lot of guys that have been there, especially they're going to have the best player on the court in Devin Booker. Can Phoenix win this game? Absolutely. But I think with the way that Portland is able to lock in on defense, especially being able to put a guy like Drew Holiday on Devin Booker for the majority of that game, again, I think that's going to lend itself well to a slight underdog winning this one. So give me Portland in this matchup. Again, I think it is going to be a very close game, big time nail biter type of situation. But I'm taking Portland to win that one. I think they ultimately end up moving into that 7th seed, and then you get Phoenix to play the winner of that Golden State and Clippers game here tomorrow night. So give me Charlotte, give me Portland tonight here for the Tuesday games. I think that parlay, if you do that on FanDuel right now, is right around plus 200 odds. Probably locking that in myself tonight. I'm going, again, Hornets are not underdogs, but in terms of just playoff history, they're not a team that has done it in the way that the Heat have in recent years. So taking Charlotte as a slight, narrative underdog in that one, and then Portland an actual underdog on the line here tonight. Now, fast forward and looking ahead a little bit to tomorrow's games. Mentioned Philly and Orlando in that 7-8 matchup. Not going to have Joel Embiid for Philly. Orlando has been playing terrible down the stretch. I think you're probably going to see, unless something crazy happens with them winning this game and then also winning or I guess keeping the series very close in the first round, probably going to see Jamal Mosley get fired as the coach of the Orlando Magic here at some point this offseason. But as far as the game goes against Philly, this is still a game that Orlando can lose, even with, just being Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, Paul George, and those guys. And to be honest, I actually might take Philly in that one. I don't like what I've seen from Orlando. They lost to the Boston Celtics on Sunday when they had a chance to lock this game in as a home game. Lost to the Boston Celtics, and the Celtics were playing no starters. None. Absolutely none. I think the Magic are primed for an upset in this one. Probably going to lose to Philly in a close one because I also don't think they have any real way to contain Tyrese Maxey. And crazy as it may sound, I like how Paul George is playing right now. So coming back off of the injury and the suspension, he's been able to get back in the swing of things. So give me the 76ers in a small upset tomorrow night over the Orlando Magic as well. And of course, if all goes as I have predicted here, you would then see Orlando and Charlotte play for the 8 seed here on Friday. Now, last game of the play-in, last game of this preview, Golden State and the Clippers on Wednesday night. Loser leaves town match, as we used to see in wrestling a lot. Of course, this is a legit elimination game. Loser of the game is out. Winner goes on to play the loser of the 7-8 game tonight. Now, I think the Clippers have the best player on the floor in Kawhi Leonard with how things have played out this year. Would it surprise me if Steph had a get on my back boys type of performance and got the Warriors over that hump? Not at all. But I think this is going to be a story of two teams really fighting to save whatever era of their franchise they're in currently. I think this Kawhi Leonard team, of course, as we saw them start 6-19 to start the season, were able to kind of reroute and kind of regain some steam after starting off really turbulent. Made the James Harden trade, got back Darius Garland, who's been playing very well down the stretch here lately. Golden State, of course, have dealt with a number of different injuries, including to Steph here up until the last 2 or 3 games in the regular season. So very injured teams, veteran teams that are trying, again, to hold on to whatever life they have left with their core. I think this might be the end of that Warriors run. Now, again, I never like picking picking for the Clippers, picking them to win games, because, of course, we know how the Clippers get down. Clippers are going to clip. But this Warriors team, I don't think they have it. I see a lot in them that I see in the Miami Heat in the game tonight, where name recognition, team, jerseys, you would think, okay, yes, they're going to win it. They're going to find a way to pull it out. But this is not the Warriors teams of the, late, 2010s, early 2020s, where we can just count on them to always, kind of get over the hump. I do think Kawhi is going to be the best player on the floor, and I think he's going to have one of those types of performances tonight. tomorrow night in that game to be able to separate from the Warriors and ultimately play for the 8th seed on Friday. So, play-in predictions. Charlotte beats Miami tonight. Portland beats Phoenix tonight. Philadelphia beats Orlando on Wednesday. Clippers beat the Warriors on Wednesday to then set up Clippers versus Suns for the 8th seed in the West, and then hopefully Orlando versus Hornets for the 8th seed in the East. So that's going to do it for the play-in predictions, play-in preview. We'll be back later this week to talk the full playoff preview, go series by series, and just kind of dive into things. But wanted to make sure to at least talk through the play-in games here early. As a little bit of an aside again, just to get back in the swing of things, man. We got to get the reps back. We've been away too long. So, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, share, subscribe here on YouTube. Follow us on all the socials at Price Check Pod. And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, Josh Price, Price Check. Check it out.